Hello, Lisa and Dan here from Fireside Strategic. We're on a mission to help business leaders achieve great results through human-centered strategy. In the Fireside Chat series, we're showcasing how leaders unite strategic and human thinking in leadership, and today are transcending the challenges of COVID-19. Right now, we're thrilled to chat with Marc Mathios, one of the brothers of the family company Ace Apparel and Promotions. Marc, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So, as I said in my intro, you're one of the brothers of this family company. Could you please tell us a little bit more what that means?
Oh, sure. So we're a third generation manufacturing company. We started with my grandfather manufacturing canvas drop cloths, which went into or go into the paint trade, the retail paint trade. So we sell paint stores across North America, canvas drop cloths and painter pants and many other textile products. And then those products are sold at retail. And we developed into a uniform provider over time where we screen print and embroider custom corporate logos. So a typical customer might be a company that has, service employees, let's say an air conditioning contractor, for example, that has 100 or 200 employees in a uniform representing their brand and showing their professionalism with a branded piece of apparel. So that is what we do now. And we still do what my grandfather did. We still manufacture the drop cloths and the pants in our American factory.
Is there a story around what inspired your grandfather to start the company in the first place?
Well, he's an immigrant from Greece, and he had family working in the garment space, and ultimately wanted to be in his own business. And he was actually manufacturing shower curtains, and this was right up before the World War II. And he could not get fabric for the curtains because it was considered a non-essential item during the wartime effort. And the same machinery that were used to make shower curtains could make canvas drop cloths. And he pivoted to making the drop cloths because it was an industrial application where he could get fabric and stay in business during the war and use a fabric that was essential for America and in an industrial capacity. And I was talking to Lisa last week, and I had never really put two and two together that, and I don't want to make similarities between the extent and effort and sacrifice America made during World War II to COVID-19. They are not even in the same category, but I never put the idea that he pivoted to do something different to keep himself in business and put food on the table for his family. And we have pivoted to doing things during COVID-19 that are essentially doing the same thing and keeping my employees working and feeding their families, which is very important to us as brothers of a company.
So that is an incredible parallel. These terms like essential or non-essential and pivoting certainly resonate with today's time. Could you tell us a little bit more, like specifically around this period today with COVID? What were you doing right before COVID, and how did you pivot?
So we were, as I was mentioning earlier, in the paint textile distribution business and also in the uniform business. And around the last week of March, we basically made our first prototype of a cotton face mask that could be washed and used over and over again. Initially, it was at the request of Governor Cuomo and how he said we need all manufacturers that could take the weight away from mass producers like 3M, et cetera, and make masks. And we started making masks in late March. And again, really just to keep our employees working. And we were able to keep 70% of our employee base working, making this item. And it's, to use the word pivot, that's what we did. And we're still making them today. And basically every mask that's coming off the machine 2 months later is sold. It's been, it's been something that we're proud of as brothers, and it actually used every skill set that each brother has. So, as folks that speak to many, many businesses, really, as an individual, as an owner, you want to be working in the space where you're using your best and most powerful capability, highest and best use. And my middle brother is a manufacturing expert, and he developed the patterns to make the masks. He developed the workforce to do it well and efficiently. And myself and my youngest brother are more on the marketing and business development side of the business, and we took up that end. So it's been good. I mean, look, business is not what it was. In April we were down 55%, but we're operating, which is good.
Even in challenging moments, it's so important, I think, to be watchful about what we all have to be grateful for. There's always something, right, that we can be grateful for. And so it's so impressive that not only did you go through this really challenging period where revenue dropped, even in spite of that, you were able to look within. You were able to think about what people needed, right? You were able to both serve others and be grateful for what you had, which I think is just such a healthy way to respond to challenging times.
Agreed. I mean, look, I'm like anybody else. I think everybody throughout this time being shut off from normal, I'll call it normal human interaction. I personally, I'm not going to speak for anybody else, have had my ups and downs throughout this process. But I do keep a list of those silver linings, like the things that we can be grateful for. It's just amazingly important. And it's a life lesson. It's a life lesson to, no matter what, to always try and look at some of the things that you can take away from the things that you're struggling with.
It's such a beautiful and important perspective that I think keeps all of us going today. Something that really stuck out to me when you were talking about your pivot is you immediately called out that your brothers and you, all three of you, kind of took up these different roles in order to support the team. And it's such a unique way to run a company, this family business. How do you, as a team, as a leadership team, determine who's in charge of what? And what are some of the properties of your family that distinguish your combined leadership style?
Well, I mean, if you were to ask my father, he would tell you that I'm a mechanical dunce. so and
yeah.
Whereas my middle brother is, excellent at that. So we did, in fact, gravitate just very naturally to our roles within the business. And we do have, so we have essentially four different lines of business, between the pant manufacturing, the drop cloth manufacturing, embroidery, and screen printing. So there's a lot going on. So there's a lot for all of us to do. From a perspective of manufacturing versus business development, it was just natural. I don't know if I'm answering your question, Lisa, but we just fell into what was right for all of us, and it has not changed. We knew what was right, and there's no pushback on what is the right thing to do.
I love it. When you have to make a decision, are you guys usually on the same page? You're already aligned like with this? Or do you have to resolve conflicts and there's a hierarchy there? How does that usually work with decision making?
Well, yeah, I mean, we definitely have conflict from time to time. I mean, I will say there's a high level of respect for what each of us can do. And I always like to say that we're very fortunate. There's no bums. I mean, everybody shows up, everybody works hard. Nobody's a bum. That would be tragic. But there is conflict from time to time when, you know, where, let's say, for example, my perspective might infringe upon how manufacturing is done. What I've learned is that it's not about what any one partner says because of his own idea of mental knowledge. It really, everything has to come from the marketplace. If we understand that an idea is coming from the marketplace, and that's a big word, but the idea is coming basically from a customer telling you what they want. That is the marketplace, and that is the direction you go. When a customer tells you what you want, what they want, then you bring it back to the factory, and that's the direction the factory should have. It's not a direction that business development as a person should have. It's the idea of what the marketplace, and that really, the marketplace is the customer. What does the customer want? You serve the customer. The factory doesn't serve Marc Mathios. The factory serves the market. And if we can remember that, then there's going to be much less conflict. So I'm not going to say, and believe me, there is conflict, because sometimes one brother thinks that it's intellectually another brother saying this is what we have to do.
I love
And
that.
that's really, that's in a nutshell, that's the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, you actually pointed out so many important elements there. You know, one of the first things you said is respect. And I think with co-leadership, with teaming up, whether it's siblings or a partnership like Dan and I have, respect may be the number one thing. But then number two, you said nobody's a bum. The fact that you show up and bring your whole self and everyone does, that's so incredible. And with respect, that's mutually reinforcing. And then using the market, using kind of a market-driven strategy, you kind of, that's such a great way to not have conflict, because you're essentially trying to respond to the truth to keep your company growing.
Right. And what the customer says, and the customer is not always right, but the customers, I mean, I am not a highly creative person. I just listen. And if I see something that's a good idea, then I'll try and implement that into our business. I'm not the type of person that's going to recreate the wheel. That's not me. I'm generally not going to have the brilliant idea. I'm generally going to hear something that sounds interesting from a customer and then try and implement it.
Has that listening, and I see that, by the way, like just meeting you, I see how good a listener you are right away. Did that skill come naturally to you? Did you work to develop it?
I would say that comes naturally to me. You know, I'm not the fellow that's going to light up the room and be telling jokes to everybody. I'm the person that's going to be, I'm focused, directed, and I listen, Dan.
Yeah. Beautiful. You know what? In a world like the one now, where we're so distracted by technology, we're so distracted by the next shiny object, the simple act of being with people and listening to them, it's one of the most valuable things under the sun. To truly be able to listen to someone, to build connection through really caring about them, is, I think, just such an underestimated skill in business and life.
Absolutely. So my son graduated from college just this May, and he's, doing some cold calling with us. And I tell him one of the most important things you could do is pause. Just pause and listen to what the person has to say and then respond rather than going through everything you want to say.
We all have a different relationship with silence, right? Whether we want one or not, we all have one. And we're not taught how important it is. We always feel so much pressure to fill in silence. But silence doesn't have to be an enemy. Silence can be actually a beautiful way to bring people together.
1000%. I agree.
Yeah, beautiful. So, Marc, I'm curious now. You know, we're coming towards the end of our time together, and this has been such a fantastic learning experience. I know for us, and I suspect will be for our audience too. We like to always ask our guests. You know, it's a tricky moment for so many of us. It's a serious moment. We had a serious conversation about business, about life. We always enjoy it. It's always a priority for us to ask, how have you been having fun in a moment like this? Because it's important to find balance in tricky, serious moments. So have you been having fun recently? And if so, how? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I have my whole family home, which is great. And we eat dinner together every night. And it's just, and I'm not out and about, you know, with various business engagements that I would normally be doing. So I'm home every 7 days a week for dinner. And it's just, that's been really nice and fun. And we play one-on-one basketball. I have never let my kids beat me in basketball,
Nice.
no matter how young they were. And I am getting crushed.
How old are they?
By both of them. And they're 22 and 19. And it's been happening for years now, a couple of years now, where it's just, I got nothing.
Well, that sounds like you are really taking, you know, this time with grace, and the fact that, you know, I love that so much of the theme of your life is family, both in business, but also outside of business. And it's great that you've been using this as a period to connect with them.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, Marc, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. What a beautiful and interesting story.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.